Good morning, I'm Maddie Jansen, and this is the podcast of 17 News at Sunrise. It's everything you need to know to start your day in about 15 minutes.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Did you feel it? Residents across Kern County were shaken by an earthquake last night. We'll tell you where it hit and how big experts say it was.
And as the governor loosens restrictions allowing salons and barber shops to reopen, we talked to a local business owner about how things will look different for your next appointment. And a momentous day as NASA and Spacex plan the first manned space flight launching from the U.S. in nearly a decade. We'll have an update on the expected launch time. This is Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. 5 a.m. on this Wednesday, and yeah, Maddie and Kevin, I'm so excited for this space launch. You know, after this year kind of getting off to a rough start, if you will, this is going to be something that a lot of people are looking forward to, and I think it's going to be exciting, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be able to launch. I know the weather's been a huge concern, especially in Florida over the last couple of days.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's looking kind of iffy right now, but we're going to keep watching that. Kev, do you have any insight on the weather?
On whether they're going to launch or not, or what type of real window they need, but they are expecting some thunderstorms into parts of Florida and even out near the Cape as we go throughout the next several days. So they're probably going to be watching carefully if there's any slice of a window that they can launch. So we'll be tracking that throughout the day, but there is definitely some weather in the area today and the next several days. Now, here at home, we are dealing with the heat. It was hot yesterday, and the heat is going to continue for today. So if you are going to be out and about, and just take it easy. We hit 102 yesterday. Normal high is 86, and the record temperature 107, set back in 1951. So we didn't hit a record. As we take a look at the temperature right now, it is a warm start, 77 degrees, no winds to talk about, and Jada's dog walk forecast. Here it is, starting out into the 80s, maybe a short walk this morning, and then you can see this afternoon, best to keep the pups indoors if you can, or if they're outdoor pups, make sure they have plenty of shade and plenty of water. Here's a look at our forecast up in Tehachapi, starting out at 63 and north-northwest wind at 5, and throughout the day we're going to warm things up for you as well into the upper 80s, and can't even rule out maybe a few lower 90s. Is there a cool down in sight? I've got more details on that coming your way in just a little bit. Back over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Kev. Yeah, we're going to need it after these few days here. Well, did you feel it? An earthquake hit last night in Bakersfield. It's been registered as about a 3.7 magnitude. It struck in East Bakersfield around 10 o'clock last night. The epicenter was near Kern Medical. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, it measured a 3.7 magnitude, upgraded from original measurement of 3.6. Although the USGS says the measured intensity in some areas was as high as a 4.5, especially right around the epicenter. The USGS says the intensity was strong enough to rattle dishes and possibly even wake people up if they were sleeping. Crews in the 17 newsroom felt the shaking, and hundreds of people have chimed in on social media saying the quake was felt as far away as Lake Isabella and Porterville.
Familiar with the jolt from the 90s Northridge earthquake, and then just a little bit of rolling after. The jolt was only a few moments, maybe not even a second or two, and then the rolls were less than 5 seconds. But it was enough to know that we just experienced an earthquake. Now the question was just to look up and see where, how far, how deep, and whether or not we have any other earthquakes during the night.
So far, no reports of any damage or injuries. Councilman Andre Gonzalez posted on Facebook he received a message from the Bakersfield City Manager saying staff will be going through a safety check protocol as a result of the quake. You may remember a 3.2 magnitude quake rattled the Bakersfield area back in late January. And a reminder, you can download the Shake Alert app to get earthquake warnings on your phone. Hundreds of earthquake sensors across California track the tremors and warn you just before shaking arrives. It's available for iOS and Android phones. And while we can't predict earthquakes, we can always be prepared when one hits. One way to do that is to have an emergency kit on hand. The American Red Cross recommends your emergency kit contains a first aid kit, a battery-powered radio, a flashlight with extra batteries, blankets, water, non-perishable food, prescription medicine, identification, and cash. Remember, you're packing for yourself, your family, and your pets. So pack enough for at least 72 hours, ideally a week.
Well, after a big jump in coronavirus cases over the weekend, some good news from Kern Public Health. Only 5 new positive cases were reported yesterday. In comparison, 47 cases were reported on Monday and 67 cases on Sunday. More than 600 or 560 people are currently infected and isolating in their homes, and another 44 people remain in the hospital. More than 1,200 people have recovered. Kern County has seen nearly 1,900 cases of COVID-19. After more than 24,000 tests, more than 21,000 have come back negative. About 1,000 are still pending, and the death toll stands at 29, with more than half of those deaths stemming from a local nursing facility.
5:05 is your time now. The Arvin City Council is getting ready to decide whether businesses must post signs asking customers to wear face coverings. 2 weeks ago, Arvin City Council leaders made masks mandatory for employees in the workplace. Now they're considering a proposal requiring all businesses to post signage asking customers to do the same. Arvin's COVID-19 cases were 44% above the county average as of 2 weeks ago. Last week, that number jumped to 58%.
The numbers have not gotten better, and so we see the need, based on the data, based on the science, based on what public health officials have said, to expand this recommendation for members of the public to wear masks.
The council was set to discuss the issue last night, but Councilwoman Olivia Trujillo was absent, so Mayor Jose Garola said the motion will be discussed at a future meeting.
Well, say goodbye to your quarantine haircut. The state has given the green light for hair salons and barbershops to reopen. Counties that have already been approved to move through phase 2 faster can start reopening those businesses. That includes Kern County, but there are precautions.
And those counties will begin to allow for those kinds of operations with meaningful modifications, with the appropriate protective gear, particularly face coverings that are so essential in that environment, sanitation requirements, and the like.
The guidelines for barbershops and hair salons can be found on the state's coronavirus website. That's covid19.ca.gov. That's where you can find guidelines for other industries like retailers and places of worship. And the next time you check the president's tweets, you may see this. Twitter confirms it is now pointing users toward fact checks of the president's statements. The president had been criticizing Governor Newsom's plan to send mail-in ballots to every registered voter in the state. He claimed mail-in voting led to widespread fraud. Those statements were marked as misleading by Twitter. It's unclear if Twitter will continue to do this for future tweets. The president now accuses Twitter of interfering in the presidential election.
And in response, the president is up and tweeting this morning. He said, quote, Republicans feel that social media platforms totally silence conservative voices. We will strongly regulate or close them down before we can ever allow this to happen. We saw what they attempted to do and failed in 2016. We can't let a more sophisticated version of that happen again. Just like we can't let large-scale mail-in ballots take root in our country. It would be a free-for-all on cheating, forgery, and the theft of ballots. Whoever cheated the most would win. Likewise, social media, clean up your act now. So far, those tweets have not been fact-checked by Twitter. And that brings us to our 17 News Interactive Feedback poll this morning. We're asking, should Twitter fact-check the president? Call or text us at 888-4617 to weigh in. Press 1 for yes and 2 for no. You can also text, tweet, email, or Facebook your comments. Once again, our interactive feedback phone line is 888-4617. We'll air some of your comments and have the first results coming up in about half an hour.
As more businesses begin to reopen, we're getting a sense of the new normal they all face, including a lengthy list of guidelines from the state to keep shoppers and employees safe. We paid a visit to Valley Plaza Mall on Tuesday and found several shoppers there, many of them wearing face masks. Shoppers like Sherry Bagato say a statewide retail reopen was overdue. Here's a look at some of those guidelines businesses need before they reopen: control measures and health screenings, cleaning and disinfecting protocols, physical distancing guidelines enforced by the retailer, and a worksite specific plan. We're told these measures could take quite a long time to implement, so you might have a little more time to shop than you normally had before.
5:10's the time now. Happening today, NASA and SpaceX are taking a giant leap with the first manned spaceflight launching from the U.S. in nearly a decade. Astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken will ride in SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule atop a Falcon 9 rocket. It's the first time in history a U.S. company will carry two NASA astronauts to the International Space Station. One concern, the weather. Florida has been saturated with storms leading up to the launch. If it doesn't go as scheduled, the next window will be Saturday. Coming up at 6 this morning, the director of the NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base will join us to talk about the significance of this launch.
And those two astronauts will add their names to the history books. And in honor of this historic spaceflight mission, 17's Taylor Schaub takes a look at Kern County's deep connection to the aerospace arena, including a program designed to teach the next generation of aviators. Good morning, Taylor.
Well, good morning. And this morning, SpaceX Crew Dragon will add their name to the history books, as you mentioned, and they're also going to captivate audiences around the country, including a large portion of Kern County, who's long loved spaceflight.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Engines ignition, liftoff.
For more than 60 years, humanity's had their heads up in the heavens, watching as rockets soar by, launching into space, all in the name of exploration.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Kern County has long been on the short list of aerospace hotbeds. The eastern desert portion of the Golden Empire home to two key research facilities, Edwards Air Force Base and Mojave Air and Spaceport, both with a rich history of helping America plant their flag well beyond Earth's orbit.
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes.
So we now know that Kern County has a rich history when it comes to space travel, but what happens if your dream is actually becoming an astronaut? Well, that reality is a lot closer than you think. Enter North High School and its state-of-the-art aviation program, one that includes a $250,000 flight simulator.
A program like this really shows that it is possible.
That's Senior Roy Flores. He describes what it's like to fly through the clouds while never leaving the classroom.
I feel a sense of not just passion, but like freedom. It feels like I could go anywhere.
The curriculum, which launched 4 years ago, aimed to teach the next generation of pilots. Whoa. But is expanded to all of aerospace.
I wanted to try and open up the aerospace imagination for them.
Instructor and former Air Force pilot Peter Keys.
At least one student who has told me, I want to be an astronaut, Mr. Keys, what do I do? That's probably the funnest part about my job, is getting to watch the light bulb go on.
I just like being in control.
A sense Flores gets every time he looks up at the sky.
I think it's just the feel of advancement and the feel of, and not just the feel, but the hope for so much more than just what we see today.
So as NASA and SpaceX prepare to launch towards the International Space Station, Kern County will be watching. And just like 60 years ago, a whole new generation of astronauts could be born. Maybe even some here at home. And for those interested in flight training, North High School offers a free after-school program that you can sign up for anybody in the Kern High School district. In Southwest Bakersfield, Taylor Schaub, 17 News.
All right, thanks so much, Taylor. We'll be back after this.
Welcome back. Free lunches resumed today at West High School after there was a break-in reported over the weekend. The Curtin High School District confirmed someone broke in and ransacked the cafeteria. And as a result, the school could not give out free lunches yesterday like they have since campus closed back in March. But today, you can pick up a meal from 10 a.m. until 11:30. And as for the break-in, the district says KHSD police officers are investigating. After some 30 years at Bakersfield College, athletic director Sandy Taylor says she is stepping down. Her last day on the job will be June 25th. Taylor came to BC in 1990 to take the job of head softball coach. She went on to serve as the athletic director and associate athletic director for 24 years and presided over numerous improvements to the athletic facilities at Bakersfield College, most notably perhaps a new women's softball field in 1990 and the recent addition of new turf and track at Memorial Stadium.
You know, the facilities at BC and all the changes, those are real important things. And it's nice to have a touch with all of that. And we'll be able to look back for many years and say, yeah, I was a part of that. That's really cool. But it's also the students and their success and the beaming when they get to walk out on that field. That's the part that's really fun.
Bakersfield College President Dr. Sonia Christian called Taylor's tenure as coach and administrator marks of excellence that have left a lasting impact on the athletics department and the college. You can check out the full story on our website, kget.com. But congratulations on retirement.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Back now at 526, hair salons and barbershops can officially reopen in Kern County. One of them, the Atomic Kitten Salon. The salon says they have implemented several safety measures to protect themselves and customers. Each workstation has been separated to keep each client at least 6 feet apart. The business also uses an ultraviolet light to sterilize the salon each night for 12 hours.
I'll be changing my apron for every guest. So I'm clean for each new guest. We are asking for temperatures to be taken and for our little thing to be signed. Our manager has filled out for us for everyone's safety and precautions. So we ask the right questions and know where they've been to keep us safe and our other clients safe.
Governor Newsom made the announcement that hair salons and barbershops could reopen in counties that have already been given permission to move into phase 2. The governor says he'll be working on new guidance for nail salons and other personal services. Starting today, the Mission at Kern County's Encore Boutique will reopen with modified hours and staffing. The boutique works as a job training resource for men and women at the shelter to gain skills in order to find permanent employment. They'll be open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're following strict sanitary guidelines and asking customers to do the same, including wearing a mask, staying away from other shoppers, and using electronic payment methods where possible instead of cash. Businesses hurting from this pandemic have a possible lifeline. The county is now accepting applications for its small business recovery program. As we've reported, the county is using funding it received from the Federal CARES Act to make forgivable loans to locally owned businesses. Take a look at your screen. Borrowers can apply through these 4 banks that are working with the county. Businesses that meet the county's criteria can receive up to $75,000. Those loans can be forgiven if they're used for payroll, operating expenses, or general working capital. You can find all of this information on our website, kget.com. Just click on the hot link icon.